could be two magnets actually. It's not necessary. So this is the north pole, that's the south pole. So the magnetic field comes out like this from north to south. You're aware of that, right? Magnetic field goes from north pole to south pole. Hello, Joshua.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you need to keep responding, man. Like, first of all, what's up with your voice? Like, just respond, no?
Okay,
You
sir.
understand, no? That magnetic field goes from north pole to south pole, or have you
Yes, sir.
forgotten it?
No, sorry.
No, let's just, I mean, inside the magnet, bar magnet, it goes from south to north,
Okay.
and then north goes out. And if there happens to be a magnet here also, then it will just probably just go in like this. So near the center, it's like straight, more or less. Okay. So in the center, straight lines. Okay. Near the edges, it gets curved little bit. Furthermore, I think that's better. So if I dangle a metal plate like this is like a pendulum, you can imagine. It's a metal plate tied to a string or a rod, and that oscillates and goes into the magnetic zoom, and then goes out zoom. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Like not a seesaw. I mean, you know what a pendulum is, so I don't need to
Yes.
give you more examples. So the plate goes in. If I give you the cross-sectional view of this situation, then you have this. I'm looking at it right from the front. So north pole, and then magnetic field comes out like this: dot, 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 dot. And this is the magnetic field B. And then you have, let's say it enters a little bit. And it goes like this. So it's still going like that. But what is the difference between, say, the first situation and the second situation? Do you see any major difference in the diagrams I've drawn? Yellow? Are you there? Okay, take your time. Sorry. Yeah, Joshua, I just got caught up with something. Give me like till 3:30. Give me some. Yeah, you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so eddy currents. What was the difference between situation and that situation? Tell me.
Sir, the first situation,
What was the difference
side
between this situation? Like I'll tell you. Huh.
top view, no, sir. Yes,
No, no, no.
top.
No, leave it, 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 leave it. फ्रंट व्यू वैसे भी है, टॉप व्यू नहीं है. और ध्यान से सोचो, यहाँ से इट गोज इन, तो इट हैज फ्लक्स कमिंग इन. ये मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स है इधर. आर यू गेटिंग? मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इज पासिंग फ्रॉम हियर. and here there is no magnetic field passing because it's in this region. After it crosses the line here, then the magnetic field passes. So it hasn't reached the passage or hasn't interacted with the magnetic field yet. It is a little too left, and then it gets inside, and then some magnetic field goes in there. That's the first thing. Then it goes further, and I mean, there is more magnetic field, then it goes out. So when it goes out, then again you have decreasing magnetic field, and finally it's totally outside. So that's the motion of the pendulum here, the plate. So the main thing is that we have a changing magnetic flux. Okay. Flux changes. Do we remember? Or have we forgotten
Sir, your
everything?
voice is breaking, sir.
Okay, I'm saying again, what happens when the magnetic flux changes?
Induced EMF will be induced, sir.
Sorry, yeah, EMF will be induced. Okay, so epsilon is equal to minus d phi by dt, and that's the Faraday's law. But anyway, you don't have to calculate anything. So it's, I don't know, it's not taught in our 12th standard that how or why we know, but how actually it goes on like that. But eddy currents are formed like this. You can generalize the direction, that it's clockwise or anti-clockwise, by using Lenz's law. That's easy, but you would not know exactly how why this kind of shape is happening. But there are small eddies. These are eddies. Or eddy currents. Eddies or eddy currents. Okay. Eddy currents are like circular small currents, probably derived from what happens in a river. You have small eddies in water in a river. So this circular current is eddy currents. Okay. Now we won't calculate or theorize about how this happens, why this happens, okay, how the circular currents are happening, but we will definitely learn the benefits and the drawbacks of eddy currents and how to reduce them. So first I'll talk about how to reduce them. To reduce eddy currents, you have to use like this finger-like structure. You just create and sort of reduces the eddy currents. I hope we are clear about this. Are we clear?
Yes.
Don't ask me why, even I don't know. Okay. So less eddy currents are produced, and what's the benefit of less eddy currents is lesser eddy currents lead to lesser Joule heating, first of all. That is heating due to current in a resistor. This does have a resistance, it's a conducting plate. It has a certain resistance. So Joule heating and lesser resistance to motion. Okay. So that is by Lenz's law. Basically, when you change the magnetic flux, okay, then you will, wherever you go, there is a force that resists it. Wherever you go, like here, here, or here, changing the magnetic flux causes resistance to motion. Okay. So yeah, that's all. So basically that is good and bad. For example, Joule heating can be utilized, for example, in induction furnace, which is a very cool thing if you think about it, that they figured that out, that, you know, there is a container in which there is metal, let's say in a steel plant. So there is a metal here. Whatever. So it will become molten after, you know, Joule heating. So basically, if you have seen the photos or videos of molten metal, it's usually lava, like it's orange color, right? So when it's basically lot of, but I haven't told you how exactly it happens. But what happens is essentially the metal inside gets heated up a lot. It heats up so much that it starts melting, and finally you have fluid metal inside uh, the furnace. So this portion here, which is probably some other metal which has a higher melting point, okay, or some material which has a higher melting point. It doesn't have to be a metal. Like it should be allowing the magnetic field to pass through. That's the thing. So basically, the molten, what you say, the metal is now inside, and now that you use for whatever, you want to purify the metal, and then later you want to get steel out of it, or what you melt metals in metallurgy, right? So that's how you do it. You can use other ways to melt metal, but this is one of the ways which I find very cool. So, and this is the same thing that happens here. There, though, you're not moving the whole thing. That's less efficient or practical than actually using a, what you call, a large magnetic field. And it's not a bar magnet, so I'm not gonna assume it's a bar magnet. You just have a magnetic field which essentially uh, so the magnetic field can vary. It will in and out, in and out, in and out, and then that sinusoidal wave of the magnetic field essentially melts the metal. Okay, that's for Joule heating. I mean, the induction stove that you have at your, I mean, not you, anyone can have an induction stove. So that stove also works on this. So I know, haven't read it. So I have assumed that it's an induction stove. So it has to be the same thing, most likely. And I'm not sure how it works, but earlier the silver disc in the electric power meters, now it's digital, but earlier we had analog electric power meters. There's a silver disc inside it, and that also used the principle of eddy currents to heat up the disc probably, and then I mean, it was more complicated. So that was used, and so used in electric meters also, power meters. Used in electric power meters. And next step is, I think there is one more thing I wanted to tell you. Yeah. Most importantly, let's talk about the bullet train. So magnetic braking. There are two actually, electromagnetic damping and magnetic braking. Okay, so magnetic braking and electromagnetic damping. So in fast moving trains and nowhere else. Why? Because that's where it's most practical. A train has a lot of inertia. If you want to brake, I mean, brake as in slow down and stop a train, which is also called braking, as you know. So if you have what you call the wheel, and you use a strip here, strip of metal, and then you have a fast, there is a magnetic field here. I'm just imagining one scenario. It could be different, but they basically, this thing will go in and out, in and out. So it won't allow, magnetic field will not allow the motion. It wants to go here, and then it comes back here, full circle, then again. So when it enters and exits, So there is a resistance to the motion of the wheel, and then essentially it slows down and stops. Okay, if you just apply enough of it, it will stop. You cut off the power and you apply the resistive force of the electromagnetic braking, and the train will stop eventually. Why you don't use physical brakes for this one is because uh, fast moving train, you will actually damage the metal parts or whatever materials you use. Like for example, in Formula One cars, or basically high-end sports cars or bikes have even ceramic brakes, probably the best brakes nowadays. So we use rubber or metal in contact. You have seen a bicycle brake, right? You know how a bicycle brake forms. The same thing, just different flavor, same thing. Okay, bicycle brake, but this is different. There is no actual contact in this case. Do you see between the brake and the brake pad? Okay, so it stops just with the oscillating field. And electromagnetic damping is the same thing, but it's used for essentially the galvanometers and all. Okay, so galvanometers, for example, have this needle. So needle starts from 0 and let's say measures a current 10 amperes, and then it is supposed to remain at 10, but I have not taught, even if I don't know, I have to see. We have done ammeter and galvanometer, so you must be knowing. In the galvanometer, this needle will go to the, let's say, to 10 amperes, and then it is supposed to stop there, but it will go a little farther. Okay, and there is electromagnetic damping. Are you following?
Yes,
Same
sir.
thing as this one, but I'm not showing exactly how it is because I have not imagined it. So you can just take it as is, that this one is supposed to go farther. It will go a little beyond, and then it will come back itself also. It will get, it will come back, it will oscillate, and it will settle in the center where it's 10 amperes, for example. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is that you want to curtail the oscillation of the needle, because if you have actually used a physical galvanometer or ammeter or voltmeter, the needle does oscillate slightly. So if you take a high-end instrument, it will have electromagnetic damping or some other way. Like if you have a spring, you can use some resistive measures to stop its oscillation. But in electromagnetic damping, you use EMI, the eddy current concept, and there it just settles faster, so it saves time to take the reading. Saves time for taking the reading. Also, it's less annoying to see what is the value of the current there. So you can use electromagnetic damping, for example. Okay. Next one. Sorry. iPad keeps falling, So I think I'm done with this topic, the eddy currents. What's the next? Let me see. Next is, yeah, we have what we call self-induction, and then we have self-inductance, we have the LR circuit, and then we have the mutual induction. Okay. This one is tough. Give me a minute. Just relax a little. So I would like to stop here if you don't mind. I'm extremely tired. Just being honest. Will mind or will you, if you will mind, I'll continue for what 15 more minutes. Or if you don't mind, I'll give you extra time tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm not sure. Because this from self-inductance to mutual inductance are all linked together. And then we have to talk about how we have self-inductance and mutual inductance together in a system also. So we have these three aspects that we need to learn, and it's a tough one. And I feel somehow very tired right now, being honest. So how about I can just stop the class and probably credit you with more minutes tomorrow. 15 more minutes. I'll try my best. Will that be okay, Joshua? I hope you will not
Yes,
mind.
sir.
My friend. So what I'm trying
No
to say
problem.
is your exam. When is your exam? Let's talk about that. I mean, I don't want to teach, but at least tell me when is your exam?
On 3rd October.
Are you there? Did you-
Yes, sir. 3rd
हाँ, तो
October.
3rd October अभी कितने दिन बचे हैं? How many days? Today's 8. That's like a month. So almost. So we can cover a lot. Don't worry. Tomorrow I'll give you 15 minutes extra. I put it on my calendar and hopefully I'll be able to do it. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, sir.